Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the most powerful question. This is a question that's going to get you everywhere. It can be used in almost any situation. It even works powerfully in your personal life. Now, I'll tell you what the magic question is, and then I'll explain how that works for anything. So the magic question is, if you were to book a show, would it be a weekday or a weekend, just to see how this would work? So now I'm saying, if you were, we don't even know if this is going to happen. If you were to book a show, would it be a weekday or a weekend, just to see how this would work? And then at that point, I can grab my calendar. And I release even more pressure when I'm grabbing my calendar. And I always keep my calendar closed. And then I would open it up so that while I'm fumbling through trying to find the date, they've got a little, I'm not looking at them, I've taken off the pressure, and they're just left there. So now, automatically, it's amazing, they come out with, well, it'd be a weekday. So then I would say, oh, would that be Monday to Thursday? Is there any day you have a course on, or, Pilates? That always makes them laugh. And they say, well, Wednesday night I have a club that I belong to. Okay, that's perfect. How about Tuesday the 14th? I have that free. So all of a sudden, we've got a date. Now, the first rule is you never, ever, ever let them pick a date. Because what happens is there's 365 days a year. They've got that many days to pick from. Do you think that while they're sitting there relaxing and they're not in that mode with their whole calendar and life before them, they're going to be able to pick a date? No. So never, ever, ever let them pick a date. And now all they got to think about is one day, April 14th. And at that point, if that doesn't work for them, they'll say, you know what, why don't we do the Friday night instead? So they pick the alternative date. So never let them pick the first date. But what it does is it will make it easy for them to pick an alternative date. Now, years ago, there used to be the teaching, you let them choose between two dates. I'm telling you, that doesn't work anymore, and I totally teach against that. Because when you're letting them pick two dates, they all of a sudden go into labor. Now, do you know what happens when you go into labor? Now, if you're a woman, you know, if it takes too long, you want to quit. And if you're a man who has experienced that with your spouse, you yourself know that you want to quit. This is not fun. I don't want to do this anymore. So what happens is when you put your customer into labor, immediately they'll go, you know what, let me just give you a call. I'll see how it works and I'll get back to you. You know what it means when they say they're going to give you a call or going to get back to you? It means that you are never going to hear from them again. It's not like they're not keeping their word or lying. It's just like life starts happening and you're not the most important thing. So unless you book them right there, it's not going to be happening. So the thing about this magic question that I wanted to say, how powerful it is it can actually be used in your own personal life. And what happened to me is I had my 8-year-old son and he wanted a cat. And we're driving along one day and he starts to suggest that he wants a cat. Well, the thing is, I had just bought a home and this person had a cat. And I'm sure they did not vacuum for 10 years. And so I didn't see this at first. The house looked nice and clean, but as we kept cleaning and getting the carpets done, oh my goodness, this place had cat hair everywhere. Run your hand across the wall and you got cat hair on it. The light fixtures, everywhere. So I'm telling you, as this cat adventure is getting known to me while I'm doing this, cleaning my house, I am starting to really have a bad attitude towards cats. In fact, I was at the point where I absolutely hated cats. I was down there cleaning and doing what I needed to do, hating cats. So there's no way I would ever have a cat again. And I actually do like cats. Anyways, my son is saying, Mom, I'd like to have a cat. And I went, oh boy. You know what, Hunter? That is one thing that we are never going to get. You're never going to have that. Well, the problem is that his whole life I had taught him that he creates his future. And you can have anything that you create. Your life is yours. Well, he turned to me and said, well, Mom, you said I create my future. I create my life. And I want to create a cat in my life. Wow, can you imagine? What do I say then? Yes, you create your life. Everything but a cat. Anyways, he proceeded to ask me the magic question. Now, I didn't even know about the magic question at the time. But when I learned it, I realized that's why this ended up happening to me. So he said, Mom, if we were to get a cat, and I'm like, we're not getting a cat. So there's no if we were. But he says, Mom, just, if we were to get a cat, would we get a fluffy one or would we get, one of those sleek ones? And I'm like, well, you know what? I always like the fluffy kind. But then I thought about the hair, but he got that out of me. Yeah, we got to get a cute fluffy one. Well, if we were to get a cat, would it be a boy or a girl? And I'm like, well, it would definitely have to be a boy because those girl cats, they really have an attitude. Well, before you know it, I am on Kijiji and we are getting a cat. Now, this magic sentence is so powerful. It will even work if you don't say it, but other people will say it to you. And let me give you an example of that. I was in a meeting where I was trying to get this school to do a fundraiser. I had presented the whole fundraiser. I had done the perfect job. This was the perfect product for them. This was the easiest fundraiser that they had ever heard of doing. It was like a no-brainer. For sure, I had this in the bag. Well, all of a sudden, one of the teachers, because this was out of school, around the table, came up with something negative about doing a fundraiser with me. Well, you know what? I don't really know about doing this because this or that. And before I knew it, all the people that were on board with me were falling off. And I was so shocked because I had done the perfect presentation. I had done the perfect clothes. There was nothing more I could do. And I'm thinking, I'm going to lose this. I just can't believe this is happening. And while I'm dumbfounded, because I don't have any more words to say, because I've already said all the words perfectly, one of the teachers says, well, if we did this fundraiser with Carla, would we do it in February or in March? Oh my goodness, everyone's heads went down into their calendar, and before you knew it, they said, well, February we got this on, how about March? And I had the fundraiser. See, that person didn't even know they were saying the magic words. And at the time, I was just getting introduced to the magic words, and I had never used them like in a meeting with a group or something like that. It was then I realized these words work for anything. They are amazing. They're called the magic words. Now, I just want to warn you that you never want to say the 7 curse words. But when you say the 7 curse words, you can count them on your hand. Would you like to book a show? The answer is on the 8th finger. You don't want to hear no. I asked a girl once who was having some difficulties with bookings in her own business. And I said to her, well, what do you say? She goes, oh, there's no reason why they would say no. And I said, well, you know what? I can pretty well guarantee that whatever you are saying, you're really putting pressure on them. And that's why you're not getting bookings. Oh, no, she said. Well, what are you saying? And she said, I'm saying to them, would you be interested in hosting a show? Well, I couldn't believe my ears. That is the most pressure you can ever put on someone. First of all, we all know you don't ask a question where they can say yes or no right off the bat. But that's not even the reason why that is so bad to say that. It's because you are putting them under total pressure. They have to say yes. People don't like to say yes. As soon as they say yes, they feel, oh my goodness, I'm under pressure. I have expectations. There's some performance I need to do. Have you ever been somewhere where they asked, for volunteers and you said, okay, yes, I'll do it. And then after you're walking away, you're saying, why did I say yes? I'm so busy. Oh my goodness, I got myself hooked into this. I'm stressed out. I don't want to do this. Now, what if in that same meeting they asked for volunteers and they said, you know what, I know you don't know whether you really want to do this or not, so what we're going to do is we just suggest that you try it out for a week or two. If it doesn't work, we can actually, arrange things a little different to work better for you. If it doesn't work at all, you can just say, this isn't for me and there's no pressure. We're done with it. You know what? There'd be a lot more volunteers. And they would stay because they never have that pressure on them. They don't even know that they've said yes. So the key is to never make your customer say yes, because people don't want to say yes. And as soon as they say yes, they're going to call you anyways and cancel because there's the pressure. So how do you get them to not say yes? You make a suggestion. We pick a date, see how that works. If it doesn't work, we can change it. If it really doesn't work, we say goodbye. There's no pressure, but if it does work, then at least you don't lose your special that we've got on today for booking a show. So I just want to review right now what I do quickly. I'm going to say the whole thing from start to finish without stopping. And then what I'm going to do is actually show you 10 pressure releases that happen. So the first thing is I say, what was your favorite today? Oh, yes, I know. I love that. Okay, well, like I said, that's yours for free. Just for picking a date before you leave to host a show of your own like this, you get that for free. So, what I usually suggest is that we pick a date. You can check with your schedule and friends, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we can change it. If it really doesn't work, we can just drop it and say goodbye. There's no pressure. But at least if it does work, you've got your favorite piece for free. Now, I don't know if you were to book a show, would it be a weekday or weekend, just to see how this would work. And then they say weekday, and I say, okay, Monday to Thursday, is there any day you have a course or something like that on? Thursday? Okay, how about Tuesday the 12th? I have that free. So that is it from start to finish. And now I'm going to point out the 10 pressure releasers. So number 1, I'm asking them what their favorite is. So all of a sudden they've warmed up, they're emotional, they're in a happy mood. That sure set them at ease and taken off pressure. The next thing I say is, that's yours for free. So I'm repeating the shock factor. But then I say, just for picking a date. I'm not saying if you pick a date. I'm saying just for picking a date. It's kind of like The Price is Right. They show you the showcase and then they say, how do you get it? Just for spinning that wheel and having it stop on these numbers, you've got that for free. So you're doing the same thing. Just for picking a date, you get tonight before you leave. Can't forget about that. You get that for free. Now, next thing you're doing is you're suggesting. How laid back is a suggestion? So what I suggest is that we pick a date and we see if it works. That's another one. See if it works. Check with your schedule and your friends. Check. We're not even putting this down like it's in stone. You're checking with your schedule and your friends. And if it doesn't work, we can change it. Oh boy, no pressure there. And if it really doesn't work, we just say goodbye. There's no pressure. Oh my goodness, if it really doesn't work, we just drop it. And then you go and say on top of that, no pressure. How much less pressure can that be? The next thing is you go straight into not putting pressure on them to pick the date, but you pick it by saying, if you were to book a show, if you were, who knows whether you would? We don't even know if this is possible, but if you were to book a show, so that's another stress release. Would it be a weekday or a weekend just to see how this would work? That's another stress release, just to see if this will work. You don't even know if it's going to work, just to see if it's going to work. Totally takes off pressure. Then when they say weekday or weekend, Now you're saying Monday to Thursday, so there's no pressure for them to go into labor and start picking a date. All of those things release pressure. Once you get your bookings and bookings from presentations, the most important thing is not what you've just done and got the presentation. That's only 20% of your work. The other 80% is in keeping the bookings. And that 80% is going to happen with your 48-hour get into action follow-up call. And that's another seminar.